Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the DTS Women in Streaming and Tech series presented by DTS Audio. Today, we'll be focusing on expectations of women in streaming. But before I jump in, I want to take a minute and reintroduce myself. My name is Becca, and I am now a manager of market research and global chair of the Women in Tech Employee Resource Group at Xperi. I'm here today with our 4 fantastic female streamers, and I'd like them to go ahead and introduce themselves now.
Hi! Good morning. I'm Chelsea Bites. It's so great to meet all of you again this morning on this lovely Wednesday as we talk about women in tech. I am a variety streamer who previously and still is a computer scientist who likes to build computers, of course. And I like to talk, so I'm sure that's why they put me on this panel. And I think this is the best time to go on to Emerald.
Hi, guys. I'm a variety streamer. My name is Emerome. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I stream a lot of different things. I started streaming, I think, around a year and a half ago now, and I love it. It's my passion, really into it, and I'm really excited to be on this panel. All right, Ashley, take it away.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm also from Ontario, Canada. So heck yeah, Canada. I've been streaming since 2017. I kind of stream whatever I really want. I'm definitely a variety streamer, just hanging out. I absolutely adore it though. I kind of hit the ground running a few years ago and I've loved every second of it. So that's me. Let's move on to Umi.
Ooh, hello. Hi, guys. I'm really excited to be here. I've been streaming on Twitch for 8 years. I actually just celebrated my 8-year anniversary of being partnered on January 7th. I stream a lot of Apex Legends and League of Legends. Just got Diamond yesterday. And yeah, I like to dance. And I was a nursing student before I became a streamer. And yeah, I'm really excited.
Awesome, everyone. Thank you for your intros. A little bit of background. This is our second episode. So if you didn't have a chance to catch our first episode, go ahead and take a listen back at that. We talked about representation of women in gaming and streaming. Before we jump in, I'm going to go ahead and go over some house rules for today's discussion. We always like to say this is a safe space. So, we're going to be vulnerable. We're going to be candid. We're going to talk about probably some provocative topics related to being a woman and working in this space. But we are always kind and respectful to one another. Another thing, we're all human, and with that, we have our imperfections. We're all starting at different places. We're all in different places in our journeys of learning and growing. So keep that in mind, as we're having our conversations today. We're all unique individuals with our own experiences. I mentioned a little bit earlier that, just a little bit ago, that we did do episode 1. For those of you who were able to join for that, one of the things that stood out was, Twitch's female user base, people viewing content on Twitch is about 35% female. But when we look at the top earning streamers on Twitch, three women out of 100 top earners. It's pretty gross that we don't have more females who are, in that top earners bucket. So that kind of set the stage for our discussion last time. But today we're going to switch it up a little bit and talk about expectations for women on streaming. And this is, definitely an interesting topic, and I can't wait to jump in a bit more with you 4. So let's talk about this. So I want to hear from the 4 of you, what expectations do you see for women on Twitch, either from your communities, other communities, or other streamers?
Okay, I'll start this off just so everybody can warm up. Whenever I see or get this idea of what people expect from women, what I see about the complaints and blah blah blah, everybody has input. It's like the great paradox. They want you to not be, alluring. They want you to be humble but they also want you to be good at a game to respect you, but then they don't expect you to be good at the game at the same time. They'll say, "Oh, go get your boyfriend or your husband to beat this part," or something like that. They want you to be very they have this very sexualized idea of what you should be, but then they also disrespect you if you fit that version, or if you're overly attractive, I guess you could say. If you intimidate them in any way, it's also a bad thing. So it's like people don't know what they want from us online, and they're always taking us to task for it. And it can be very, very frustrating. So that's my first, like, right off the bat impression of expectations for being a woman. You have to be everything.
Yeah, at the same time. And even when you are criticized. I have a little point to add on to that I think can relate to the topic pretty well. One thing that we are expected to do, I think it is mostly subconsciously by men and everybody and in society in general, is when we are online or streaming, we have to be presentable and we have to be appearing at our best, essentially at all times. And that includes wearing makeup, doing your hair, things like that. And people will say to us, well, you don't actually have to wear makeup. You don't have to do these things. But the problem is when we don't, we get comments like, well, you look really tired today. You looked better yesterday. Wow, you look a lot older today. Are you stressed out? Things like that. And a very good example of this happening is, I'm not sure if you guys are caught up on what happened this week, but I think this is a great discussion to have. Pokimane had a controversy this week where she was getting a lot of misogynistic comments. And one of the hateful things this individual did to Pokimane during the week was bring up a photo of her wearing no makeup on her stream. And he basically, the creator that was attacking Pokimane, was using this photo of her wearing no makeup as ammunition against her to fuel his little hate raids. And it was just it's very sad to see, like, when we are vulnerable, when we do try to be comfortable in our own skin, we get torn down for it. So, you know.
Yeah, that's like kind of what happens. Like every time I see like a tweet like defending Pokimane anyway, there's always that like drove of people who dislike her, like posting that same picture. It's always that picture. And it's like, okay, what? Like, why? It's just so silly that like, yeah, that picture was from however long ago and she's just not wearing makeup. And it's just like, oh, so you always hear those comments. It's like, oh, you don't need all that makeup. Like, you shouldn't wear makeup. Like, you should blah, blah, blah. And then you don't. And then it's screenshotted and it's like, you look like this without makeup? Wow, can't believe that.
It definitely gets confusing.
Yeah, it's like just obscene.
I the same thing with what Emma was saying. A lot of people say you don't have to do this, you don't have to do this, just be yourself. This, that. But then, like, there was actually like a time where I would get comments whenever I'm wearing a sweater. You should wear less sweaters. I think maybe if you wear like something like this, it could be better, or your video could do better, or maybe you'll have more viewers. And then like, I think like over time, it just like, it gets frustrating, right? Because it's like, as a streamer, whether it be female or whatever, you want to succeed. And then these comments kind of get to you over time. Should I stop wearing sweaters? Would it be better if I stopped wearing sweaters? And then I upload dance videos. And then my dance videos is of me wearing like sweatpants and a sweater. And then I get the same dance video sent to me, but the girl's wearing a skirt. And then they're like, you should do it like this though. They don't want to say it, but that's what they're insinuating. You should, the exact same thing, but like this in a skirt. And it's like, should I? Like, you know what I mean? Like over time, it's just like, I don't know.
I get
it feels
it.
like we're Barbie dolls, dude. It feels like we're, you have to be that perfect picture of a female on the platform. And if you aren't, you're shunned for it in some way, or you're not good enough. And it's very strange because we don't get judged by our content. We immediately, the second someone comes into our streams, we get judged by how we look first.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's... I was just going to say it's such an interesting point, and I'm remembering, when we were chatting about this topic, and I think Ashley, you had brought up someone saying to you like, "Oh, I'm so glad you don't dress like those women," right?
Yeah.
So it's this like double-edged sword where you better dress sexy enough, but not too sexy. Like wear enough makeup that I think you're pretty, but not so much that then you look ridiculous. And it's like, how do we as women succeed when there are all of these external expectations of what our bodies are supposed to look like when you're there to do your job, right? And like, how does that interfere with how you think about going to work every day? I mean, what is that like for you?
I think the other frustrating thing too is that from what I've seen as well, and this came up in a big stream yesterday with a female who has like a pretty big audience, and she's really, really, really good at the game that she plays. It's whenever a male gets very emotional about the game, very passionate and upset about something that happens, versus if a female gets very emotional about it, the girl gets criticized for being emotional, and then the guy gets praised for being passionate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That too. Yeah, I hate that. You'll see the guy throw his keyboard, punch through a screen, and just do all this stuff that, for me, I'm like, that's a red flag. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah.
And a girl will just get upset. Like, she'll just yell real loud. She might throw her controller. And it's just way more... People are way more sensitive about it. I don't understand it. It's that quick to calling women emotional. And I'm like, men are just as emotional. Men are even more
if not more so.
Yeah, even more so in most cases. So what's the deal? I will say that these expectations have definitely leaked into my schedule as well. I spend like maybe an hour prepping for stream, just physically, not even including like writing, like putting on makeup, making sure lights and everything are good, outfit, blah blah blah. I would enjoy streaming a lot more if I did not feel like I had to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. I would.
Also, that we're not even mentioning the mental toll it takes. Like, we can say these things, but like, we had to figure all this out, not by someone telling us, hey, here's the lines that you need to, stay in between. We had to make these mistakes of, maybe wearing something a little bit too revealing, showing a collarbone. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then getting harassed for it. Like, we had to, like, every single day, mentally, there is a battle going on of what can I say and what can't I say, and what content can I cover and what can't I cover, and how can I go through my day and make the most of it, but without exploiting my body too much. It's like such a strange mental process that men would never have to consider. They just simply turn a camera on, and I'm not saying they don't have other problems, but they turn a camera on, they can be funny, and they don't have to worry about whether they're crossing a line.
I guarantee if you're a man and you wear makeup, you're probably just putting concealer on and that's it. I don't think you're doing anything else. So it's nothing for you. Throw on your shirt, shorts, done. And I get that, because you go around and you're looking at what you compare yourself. I definitely compare myself. For me, it's more numerical. But if you actually physically compare yourself to other streamers like you, sometimes you're definitely looking at what they're doing differently. And for me, I'm like, dang, maybe I do need to change my angle so they can see more of me. Maybe I do need to start, like, I don't know, wearing lashes. And it's just small things like that build up. Like how much, and it makes you feel like you're not doing enough work in some cases, because you'll look and see someone else doing all of these things and you're like, man, I just don't want it enough, or I'm not trying hard enough. Yeah, it can definitely go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, for sure.
Ugh. I don't like dressing up already. I would wear pajamas every day if I could.
I mean, I like dressing up. Like, don't get me wrong. I like dressing up. I like looking pretty. But, you know, at the same time, it is kind of difficult getting comments of like, oh, well, you look great. But, you know, maybe if you wear less sweaters, you'd actually get more viewers.
Oh, somebody try me with that one. I think it's interesting, because I don't get that. I've made sure so far in the like 4 years I've been streaming now, my community understands me enough to say, you get the Chelsea you get. That's it. And she's great. She's cool. She's not going to come on looking completely busted unless it's a bad day. But you get what you get. But the conversations that I would have with my husband, who is very, very invested in what we're doing on my stream, he is very analytical as well. So he knows, he's like, yeah, you know, I get that if you checked off these boxes, if you wore more clothes like this, if you wore makeup like this, if you had your camera angled like this, you would probably get way more attention than you do now. And he'll bring that up, and he'll talk about it. He's like, man, you know, this would make things a little easier, but I know that's not what you're going for. And it can definitely be like, well, dang, am I holding myself back? It's like you're holding. It feels like you're holding food over like an animal, like you're dangling it almost. Yeah. And do you want to? I don't want to feel like that. For like, I don't ever. If it makes me, if I have to ever think about it like that, if it's not just a natural, oh yeah, I'd wear this. Oh yeah, I'd do that. Then I don't want to do it. Yep. Now, I will say I don't like how my I am in a corner. I would like to do more things with my stream. I would like to dance more, just because I'd like to dance. You do? I would like to stand up. I love dancing, Umi. When I found out you were like on the dance, like you were the dance queen, I was like, oh my god. Let me hop on TikTok. Let me watch these. I love it. And I'm not like a great dancer by any means, but I know there's a stigma that comes with that. I know that once I start going into or doing more of that, you're gonna get a different kind of crowd, regardless of how you dress. That's just the genre. That's just the stigma. So, I want to start experimenting on that side. Once I get more room, once I'm moving, I have to think about all this stuff while I'm moving. Yeah. Oh yeah, how's it gonna look when we move? Oh yeah, what's the new angle? What are we doing? Yeah, it affects everything. It's
a lot. It's definitely a lot. You know, we talk about this term invisible work. We talk about it in the corporate space and the domestic space, and it's interesting because I don't think that people quite realize all of the invisible, unpaid kind of labor that goes into doing our jobs, right? And it sounds like, you know, based on the type of work that you're doing, there are these, you know, set kind of, well, you need to look a certain way. And therefore that has to become part of your routine. Whereas, you know, I'm like sweatpants every day, wash my face. Like, it's just a different, do you think that people feel like because you're putting yourself out there and because you are streaming live, that they have permission to tell you how you should look and what your body should look like, what you should wear? Like, do you think that, yeah.
Go ahead. What do y'all think?
Yeah.
Can I just lead off with a little story that happened recently?
Please.
I had a streamer who was much bigger than myself reach out to me and tell me, sorry if you heard the dogs in the back, tell me that he could help me get to 1,000 viewers average. And he had friends, female friends that he had helped do the same thing. And I, of course, because I respected him at the time and looked up to him a little bit, said, oh, sure. What do you have for me? What do you think I should change about what I'm doing? And he linked me to several female streamers and said, you need to do this, change all of these things about your stream, wear more revealing clothing. Went into my OBS, changed like things that I had on in the background, told me I needed to get a whiteboard and write people's names up so that they're more like attracted to me. Like, it was an awful conversation where by the end of it, I just genuinely felt like maybe I had nothing and my content was terrible if I didn't do what he told me to do.
Oh, that's
so let's fight.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry. Can you show me?
All right.
Who asked?
I'm not about to let you sit by yourself no more. Let me come bug you every night now, because we can just square up. Nah, we can do that. I'm not about to let no crusty person walk into your stream and you're in your DMs, especially until I don't care how many viewers you have. I don't care. People will really trip and think that there are so many people who make deals with companies to bloat viewership, and they have nothing. They are garbage. So I don't like seeing people who think that they have it all together, they have the package, they have the influence, blah, 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 and they try to make you feel like dirt. And for what? A man telling a woman how to do on this platform? Who do you think you are? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Chelsea.
I'm irritated, and I'm ready to fight if you're ever ready. Ugh.
Yeah, it's a rough situation, and it's not just from other streamers that we get this from, but it's like a lot of viewers will make comments here and there, you know, what they think we should be doing more of, or, you know, we get, even subconsciously, we get rewarded for the little things that they like that we do. So like maybe the only compliment I'll get for a day is not that I need compliments, but it'll be about how they like my hair, how my hair is curled extra curly that day. And now it's like, I have to do this every time or I'm not going to live up to their expectation. It's very strange. Like why can't you just compliment how funny I am today or my jokes or maybe the content, you know? Like can we focus on something that isn't my looks for 1 second if that's possible? You know?
Yeah, I have a kind of a boundary in my stream, and I feel, which is silly that I feel bad like enforcing this boundary sometimes, because I know that a lot of people come in and be like, oh, you're so pretty. It's like, they mean well, but it's like, there are so many other things you can compliment me on. Truly, like my content, my sense of humor, like things that I can like maybe even control. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, like I love the way you did your hair today, or I love your outfit today. Like I love those comments because it's like, oh, hey, that's something that I did. I picked out. Whatever, right? So it's like, oh my gosh, your outfit looks awesome. I'm like, cool. Appearance-based, sure, but something I can control. But being like, oh, wow, you're so beautiful. I'm like, maybe can we not just...
Yes, to put into perspective really fast, imagine going into Ludwig's stream or a male streamer's stream, and the first thing that you say is, you are so handsome. Think about how crazy that would be. Like, the idea of that happening blows my mind. It just wouldn't happen.
It definitely wouldn't happen for me. But I feel that too. Like, it's like a whole nother side or another world, another layer of it that they just don't ever really get to experience. And it's just taking me back to this guy that's coming in here talking to you all wild like that. Like, how dense could you be? I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. That's really annoying to me.
Just a side thing. Yeah. Let's address this really fast because I think it's funny, but it just happened in this conversation, which is crazy to me, given the context. Someone came into the chat just now and consistently tagged Umi with hearts saying, I love you, please be my girlfriend, please be my girlfriend.
Wait a minute.
We're having a conversation about misogyny. Anyways, go ahead.
No, let's talk about that for a hot second.
Well, it's interesting. Again, I think, it speaks to this idea of entitlement, and like, I'm entitled to, everybody has an opinion, and that's fine, but that doesn't mean everybody needs to share all of their opinions, right? So I may have an opinion about how somebody looks or how they dress, but I can choose to keep that to myself, right? But it seems like a lot of what is happening is, and I grew up with like Yahoo chat, AIM, all that kind of stuff. And AIM. It was all about, and MSQ, I think So it was just, people started feeling like, well, there's this level of anonymity and I'm just behind a screen. So I can say whatever I want to you. And it removes that level of humanity and like recognizing that there's a human being on the other end who thinks and feels things. And I'm wondering, knowing all of that, knowing that, you have people coming in who feel like they can just say whatever they want to you. What are you doing to mitigate people like that within your own communities? Or, what do you think Twitch is doing to help mitigate any of that for streamers?
Let me talk about that for just a second. I know we always have a big blow up in every community about someone harassing someone. There are always layers to things. For us, I know hate raids took up a large portion of our time dealing with. It was just like it wasn't even just a handful of people. It grew to like a group of people who were just doxing, harassing, and just literally hurting a lot of POC or LGBTQ plus streamers on Twitch. And just the amount of people who had to literally drag Twitch and say, hey, can you at least say something? It took a while. Now, we do have these tools where we can require verified emails, numbers for a certain amount of days or a certain amount of months from, certain types of viewers and whatnot. So that's somewhat helpful. It doesn't make it so easy to make all of these accounts that you can just literally like blast a channel and fill up their feed with all of these hateful comments, which I've experienced myself. I had never used my Stream Deck until we had the hate raid, just apocalypse. And that's when I was like, okay, I got to get in the mode of clearing my overlay. I got to clear the chat. I got to put it in sub only mode. And sure, that helps. You know what I mean? Like it quote unquote helps, but you're really hurting me. Like I know I can kind of just brush it aside and say, look at us, we defeated another hate raid, but it still hurts my viewership. Yeah. It still ruins the flow of what I was doing. Like I have to stop everything. And while I understand that, Twitch can't protect us from everything, what I would have appreciated was much faster reactions. And this stuff could have been implemented from jump. Like if safety is the priority on the internet, that was honestly a small fix that could have been done years ago. So it just didn't feel genuine to me that was still a problem. Because it's happened. It's old news. Like, people hate raid all the time. Yeah. Somebody is always harassing someone on the internet all the time. So if you really care, that should have been implemented from jump. Yeah. Now, I'm sure there are other tools that you can find from other people who are much more motivated than Twitch. And you can go and customize it to make your own experience from there. But Twitch is on its way. It's working to it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so, I actually have a really sad. See, it's one of those like bittersweet stories.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. We'll talk about that too. GA. I don't know your name, but please go ahead. Go ahead. I just wanted to see it before it disappeared.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Okay. I didn't see what that was, but we'll talk about it.
I'll tell you.
One of my best friends during like the really terrible time, that was like ever, like you boot up a stream and you get hate rated. She got partnered live on stream, and instead of feeling joy, she immediately went into damage control and thought the staff rating her was her getting hate rated and did not let herself feel joy.
Yes. Yeah.
And it broke my heart.
I'm sorry. It's real. I mean, like, I can kind of say that we went to another stream. We were streaming from somewhere else, and somebody came in. Somebody that I knew came in with like this cute, weird raid call. It was completely unintelligible, but it was just what they had just did, and I just immediately thought, oh, that's a hate raid, and I just started refreshing. And it was names that I recognized, but I was still like, what are y'all saying? No, turn that off. I don't know y'all. Y'all must have got hacked or something. It's really just that kind of reaction. I'm just like, oh, no one's coming in with good intentions. Everything's bad. And that's sad. That's really sad. Like, I'm not going to try to appeal to someone's better nature, because there's always going to be somebody who's just straight garbage. But at the same time, we should be able to beat back that toxicity. It shouldn't be commonplace. Like, it can happen, but it shouldn't be expected. I should want to welcome people into the stream with open arms. And speaking of that, there was some person who really hopped in here and said, how can Pokimane ban a black man for saying that word? First of all, that's not what happened. That is
blatantly wrong.
That is blatantly wrong. You are ignoring the actual issue here. Even this person that you're talking about said they deserved what they got. So really think about what you're arguing here. You're upset for Pokimane protecting herself.
Right.
What do you expect us to do? To sit here with open arms and welcome your harassment?
Yeah.
There are plenty of things I don't agree with how certain streamers run certain things on their channel, but I will not be the one who sits here and lets you literally harass me and not do anything about it. Like, I don't know what y'all expect anymore. Do you
She also didn't get him banned. He was banned for breaking terms of service. Period.
Exactly.
It wasn't
the rules.
her getting him banned. Yeah.
But she was villainized for protecting herself, right? So again, it feels like it's playing into this narrative that, well, you are putting yourself out there on the internet, therefore you deserve to be subject to whatever treatment comes your way.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about shifting the topic a little bit. We are going to do a deeper dive into hate raids for our next episode, because I think there's a lot for us to talk about in terms of who's targeted for those and, how we respond, right? But one of the topics I want us to address is microaggressions. And microaggressions is defined as a statement, action, or incident regarded as an instance of indirect, subtle, or unintentional discrimination against members of a marginalized group. So this could be racial or ethnic minorities. This could be, women, members of LGBTQ+. So last year, we have a Black employee resource group here at Xperi, and we hosted a speaker named Jesse Lipscomb. And if you haven't heard of Jesse Lipscomb, I highly encourage you to, look him up. He's a fantastic speaker on racial justice, but he talked about this idea of microaggressions, which is, a topic that, whether you're familiar with the term, it's something that we've all experienced. And he says that when we're born, we are born wearing a backpack that is empty. But every time a microaggression is thrown our way, it fills up with these little pebbles until all of a sudden you realize your backpack is completely full and you're kind of being dragged under by years and years and years of constant, tiny little jabs. So that's one thing, let's talk about that. How have you experienced microaggressions within, the communities that you've been a part of, whether as a viewer, as a streamer? And do you think that these microaggressions are directed more, toward women as opposed to men?
I'd like to go first here.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time. I feel like I've definitely dealt with this. I just can't really pinpoint what the comments were,
You don't have to pinpoint them exactly. I think most of our conversations that we have at least one microaggression within them in some way, shape, or form. I'd say almost every conversation that I have has something in it. And I think growing up and getting older, you don't realize that. And I think it's very, it's not as obvious. And I think now that things are coming to light and we're starting to stand up for ourselves more and realize what's right and what's wrong, and how we should be treated as equals, you start to see them more and recognize them more. But I definitely think women have it harder than men, and we experience them more than men. Based on everything we've already spoken about today, but I'll let my peers share what they have.
I'll give you a light one, Umi. I hate it when people come into my stream and they tell me if I'm struggling on, when I was playing Sekiro and all the harder games, I hate it when they tell me, oh, let your husband beat it for you. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, child, this man don't play. He could never. He could never. I'm the gamer in this house. Straight up. I'm the one who classes him when it comes to any game, save maybe fighting games. So yeah, like that's a small microaggression. Now, of course, you have people. There was one person who just came in and there's somebody who came in straight up, just full attack. Like,
aggressive.
I like you better with straight hair. Like, I'm like, whoa, wow, you said that loud with your chest, but you're still wrong, and you ban them. But yeah, like it can range. It goes from, a lot of people used to ask me like, oh, what are you? Like, what are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm black.
Where are you from?
Yeah.
What are you?
Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean?
I feel like I've gotten that more IRL than on stream. Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
I got it both ways. I definitely got it both ways. But yeah, like that's a microaggression. I think getting it on the internet, it's just easier for people to just do what they do to you in real life. It's just now anonymous, like Becca said. But yeah, those are just small microaggressions where people come in, they just don't think. They don't think before they speak. They ask these personal or say these very irritating things that just, like you said, add to your backpack. And I hate to say that, honestly, I just expect it and I just correct people now. I hate to be the one to correct you, but Mango, stop. I am. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, that's part of what we're being called to do is call out, because a lot of times these microaggressions come from a place of, unconscious bias, or you don't necessarily know that commenting on a black woman's hair is not really something you should do. Right. And unless we start calling out these kinds of behaviors, and I'm talking about this partly because, I think the four of you, you know who you are. You're strong women and you understand the types of communities you want to surround yourselves with. So you set boundaries, right? Mm-hmm. And that's really important that you do that because it's basically saying this type of behavior is acceptable and okay, and this is not. Mm-hmm. But it feels sometimes like, for women breaking into streaming, they have to maybe let some of those, less respectful kind of behaviors so that they can get started.
Just to tack onto that really fast. So gaslighting is actually considered a microaggression or a form of microaggression. And I think women get that significantly more than men. For example, if you are being too dramatic in a game, someone will come to you and say, you're being too dramatic. If you're upset by something, maybe a comment in the chat makes you uncomfortable, you're overreacting. People gaslight women so incredibly frequently. It's actually
I think because
insane.
of that, I feel like I can't like the girlfriend comment, like I feel like I shouldn't comment on it because if I do, I'm being dramatic or entitled or whatever.
And I just to comment on that, Umi, just to say, I think whatever natural reaction you have, whether you just don't feel comfortable, you don't want to acknowledge it, that's fine. I don't want. See, that's the frustrating part about this is that you have to think about your reaction, and we shouldn't have to. Like, if you don't want to respond, cool, I get it. Like, why even give? I get it. Like, why even give that nonsense attention? But if there's a time where you want to say something, you shouldn't be like. I don't want people to make you feel like you should be scared to say it. It's. I get exactly where you're coming from, and I completely.
I think that's the
understand.
unfortunate part, though, because it's like whenever you see clips of girls like overreacting, it's like, well, I don't want to look like that. So now it's like, because of the way that they make it out to be,
it's negative,
know? And so now, like, if we ever get comments like that, or if I ever get comments like that on stream, I have to, like, think about how I want to respond. If someone makes me uncomfortable because their compliment is too intimate, I can't, like, I have to, like, for me personally, I feel like I have to convert it into humor somehow, or else I'm just not going to look good.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's a huge thing.
That's big.
Go ahead.
Like, I feel like no matter how you respond, there's always going to be someone that's going to, like, disagree with you. Like if you ignore it and it's like, oh, well, you should have said something, or people are still going to, like, walk all over you. Or if you say something, be like, oh, well, if you just ignore it, it would have went away. And it's just like,
everybody has
what are you going to do then? It's either going to keep happening or keep happening.
Exactly.
So, like... It's just there's no winning. And then, like, I honestly, like, I've done it like less because it's exhausting to like just like call out and just like complain about like every comment you get or whatever. Like if I can turn it into humor, like you said, Umi, like I like to do that. But it's just like for a while I was like kind of like getting known, especially on Twitter, for like clapping back to trolls who are like trying to come for me for like mostly honestly like aggression because I'm a woman on Twitch. And it's just like people started to think like I was just like mean.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not mean. Like I'm just defending myself. And like I feel like the thing that happens when you're a woman and you like stick up for yourself and just like stand your ground, you're immediately labeled as like a bitch, basically. Like that's just what happens. Yep. And it's super not fair.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of times I apologize after I crack a joke or show any amount of like emotion that I deem is not, or someone else might deem is a little bit too dramatic. I apologize all the time. Like I'm trying to get, my chat is trying to help me to stop apologizing as much as I do. Like I'll say something. Yeah. I'll say something I think is funny. And right away, like I'm instantly apologizing because I feel like in my heart, like someone is mad that I said something like that or my joke was too much. It's like, why? I don't want to have to think about this. Like
I used to say just kidding a lot. Like I used to,
but
when I was,
weren't.
I definitely wasn't. But like I just felt like just kidding. You know, like it's not real. Like I don't want anybody to really perceive or like take notice of what I was saying. It's something I got over, thank God, before I got online. Because wow, the way you would have been more frustrated with me than you are with yourself. It was just kidding every sentence, and I feel you on that. And it's just gonna take your time. I don't think it's a bad thing to be conscious of what you say. And I'm never gonna rush your process. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, you just have to keep trying and blah blah blah. It's just gonna take your time. And as long as, if it's something that you don't like, then that's good. You're already taking the steps, because I had to be like, I don't like that I say just kidding so much. Let me stop saying it. Let me just mean what I say. And I started hurting a lot more feelings. I sure did. But it just made me feel better. I just knew I was being unapologetically me. And right. Especially when you're talking about gaslighting. And I think that stemmed, what that really stemmed from was I wanted to be everybody's friend when I was a kid. And my mom had to break me out. She's like, girl, not everybody's going to be your friend. Okay? Not everybody is going to like you. And so after I kind of went through that, like somebody finally telling me, I don't like you, you're annoying, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, people really don't like that. And then fast forward to now, I'm getting like, I went and I talked about this game, God of War, that I really liked, and they have a black character that I love. Anger Boat. She's going to be so cool. This is wild. They've never had a black female character in God of War. I watched the trailer, the reveal. I was reacting with it on my stream. And it was visceral. You know, you don't fake anything when you're sitting on stream. Like, the camera's on. Like, you've reacted. So I clipped that, put it on Twitter. It did great. They used the God of War team. They were like, oh my God, I'm so glad. This is what we live for. Like, I'm getting all this good responsive feedback. But then you take it out of that team. You take it away. The people are like, oh, her reaction's fake. Oh, she's just overreact. I don't even get what she's reacting. Like, what? People will literally start to just tear you down from there. If they didn't directly have anything involved in that project, or they're not your community, they just start to, they call you fake. Yep. Even though it's live. Like, it happened live. And I'm sitting here like, wow, that's wild. But then I move on and I'm just like, that was my reaction. You take it or you leave it. So I'm glad I deleted those comments as best as I could. But that's just another example of how people just won't accept you as you are. And you just have to accept yourself. Make it what you want to make it. What was that? But I'm reading comments.
Oh, I just read a comment about, like, if you make your channel subscription only, do you think the, like, aggressions would end? A, probably not, because people can get free subs. And B, that is, like, one of the last things I would ever want to do is to, like, lock my content to people who only pay me to watch it like that. Like, it just feels like I don't think we should have to do something like that to protect ourselves. And that feels like overkill completely. You know what I mean?
Yep. Also,
Like-
it's hard enough to grow as a female streamer, and
Exactly.
if you're locking everything behind a paywall, good luck, dude. Watch
Yeah.
that tank. Yeah.
Like, sure, I'm sure it would probably like stop a lot of stuff, but it would also stop like a lot of your career.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I can imagine that people would be like, "Oh, what does she think she's too good for us? Like we can't access her." Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm wondering, within the streaming community, are you having conversations about this with each other? Like, are you talking about this kind of stuff?
So when you say talking with each other, you mean like personal conversations, or like online, like on Twitter, or like what?
Well, I mean, I guess however,
However
however
we do
you're engaging in conversation, like our topics, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm so tired of people telling me to dress a certain way, and like, hey, what are we gonna do about this? Like, are you having those conversations?
I think
talk
when
about that,
when I had the
real quick.
conversation about
Yeah, go
the
ahead, go ahead,
person
go ahead, Amy.
who I was uncomfortable with the comments because it was actually a friend. It wasn't a viewer. It was a friend that came onto Twitch to support me. So I think that's why I tolerated it for so long, because I kept thinking like, oh, maybe he's trying to help in his own way. I don't know. Whenever I finally talked about my feelings, I lost a friend.
Yeah, that's way more than I had ever had to deal with. Most of my stuff
Yeah.
is just with viewers. I feel like it stings more when it's from
It
friends.
does.
It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's unfortunate though, because I think that's just literally the image that Twitch puts out. Like, that's what, if you study the data, if you look at the looks, that's what you think is success. But it doesn't have to be. And you also have to realize that you are sacrificing some part of your mental and your physical to get to that point. Like, I cannot accept or believe that I would be happy doing what other streamers do.
Yeah.
I
And
just can't. I'm already.
The thing is that like, you don't have to dress that way to succeed. There are many female streamers who are doing very well, and they don't have to dress like that. I think what's frustrating is more of just like the constant comments of like everybody just wants to tell you that's what you have to do. It's not necessarily that is a pathway to success, but it's always like one of the top three.
It's the perceived path.
But to answer Becca's question, I personally don't get to talk about it much aside from whenever we have these panels and whenever I talk to you ladies. I think whenever we started DTS, I actually started getting, I was able to talk about my experiences more like privately among you guys, which has been really nice because with gaming and streaming, I think typically I have a lot more male friends, and I do vent about some of the problems that I have, but there's not much that they can say back to relate or to empathize because they don't know. So when I started talking to you guys about these little comments, I started realizing like, oh, maybe I'm not overreacting. Maybe it actually is bothersome. You know, like it made me feel like I wasn't alone.
Yeah.
Of course. I had a conversation actually with a friend recently. I think in most cases, I don't talk about these kinds of things because often it's seen as like complaining almost, or at least that's the vibe I get from who I'm talking to about it, unfortunately. But recently I had a conversation with a female streamer on my stream, and this is probably 2 streams ago for me. And we had quite a few viewers in there discussing this. We were talking about the situation with Pokimane, and we were also talking about our own specific situations that we've experienced, misogyny and things of the like, or expectations for us. And during this conversation, several times in the chat, people said, well, can we just go back to the game? Can we do something that's not this? Can we change the subject? And all I can think about is, wow, it must be really nice to be able to just ignore something that we live with constantly and can't put away and can't stop thinking about. It must be so nice to be able to say, let's talk about this another day. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just...
Well, I know.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. I love that because I am very, that's like the one thing I'm proud of. Like, I don't care how big it is, it's mine. They know that when they hop into my stream, we are going to talk about whatever I want to talk about, and we are going to engage. I'm very lucky. I might get like the one odd person who's like, well, what are we doing here? I'm like, all right, well, if you don't know, you'll find out. And then I'm lucky that we can just ignore those people, or we can just let them figure it out for themselves. I can't imagine hitting like maybe 200, 300 to 1,000 viewers. I'm like, okay, now all of y'all are just making a cacophony of just noise. But yeah, like I can't stand it when people do that too. I'm like, read the room. Do you know where you are? Mm-hmm. I would drag them so hard. And yes, realize your privilege. Please check it, because you get to have these little nice, fuzzy, cozy moments where you get to come into my space and I entertain you. But now I am going to ask you for something. I'm going to ask you to engage in this conversation where I talk about how I feel. This isn't just a place where, if that's how you want it, this isn't just a place where we just play games. Like, I am building a community with you. You are learning me. We are going to talk together. So if you're just here to be flat, just superficial, then go find another day. Go come back another time. It's not for you.
Yeah, I definitely find that stuff happens. Even like if we're not having like a serious conversation, like I always start my streams by chatting, like all the time. That is the thing that I've done for years. It's like an hour, 2 hours sometimes. And there's always people that come in and are like, are we playing games today? Or are you just going to talk? And I'm like, if you know this community, you know we play games, but you know we talk every single stream. Like, and it's always like rude. It's like, hey, are you playing games today? And I'm like, yeah, but just be patient. Like, I don't understand. It just, and it's like most of the time just talking about silly stuff. It's not even like talking about like real stuff. But I do find that those comments do come out when we're talking more about serious stuff. But it's just those kind of comments always irritate me, because it's like, hey, I'm just like trying to live my life and stream and just have fun. And like, there's always people that are coming in trying to like tell you what to do or tell you to move on or blah, 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 blah. And it's just exhausting.
Well, it's like, if you don't like it, leave. Right?
Yeah. Right. Like, why are you here?
No one is forcing you to be in this space. So I think, we're coming close to time, but one of the things that I admire about the four of you, again, is just your strong convictions. Like, this is me, this is who I am, and I'm going to be me. And if you don't like it, you're welcome to leave. But, also setting that not expectation, but saying, this is what's acceptable in my space. You're coming into my space, and I'm not going to let you disrespect me. I'm not going to let you disrespect others. I think that's incredibly important as we think about, and heading into our next topic, which is hate raids. Commanding your space, taking ownership of your space, and also being really clear on what behaviors you will and will not tolerate, and calling out those instances of misogyny, of racism, sexism, all of that. I think that that's incredibly important. And we do have a responsibility as humans in this world to call that out, when we see it, it happens in the workplace, and we're constantly being challenged. If there is a man speaking over a woman, taking credit for a woman's idea, say something. Like, that's a great idea, and she just said that. We have to start calling these behaviors out, right? But people will not realize that they're, sometimes, honestly, people don't realize that they're actually being misogynistic. Because it's so ingrained.
I call my husband out all the time. I'm like, why did
I literally just had to yell at someone like fairly recently for like testing someone's Star Wars knowledge.
Right.
Like testing a woman's Star Wars knowledge. I'm like, she says she likes Star Wars, and then suddenly all the questions come out. I'm like, are you just doing like the name 3 of their albums kind of thing? Like, relax. Yeah. She's allowed to like Star Wars. And it was just like, please, just like recognize what you're doing and like think about it, because that happens so much. Like, and it comes across like in like your mind, you're like, oh, I just really like this thing, and I want to be able to like talk about it with this person, and I want to like see if they know like what I know, and it's like, it doesn't matter. They can like it if they like it. And it's, I just like Star Wars is just, I think, the biggest one that I always see. But it like does the same thing with like bands. But like popular media, it's just like, it sucks that I had like that just happens all the time.
You have to justify everything you say. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're a huge football family, and for the longest time, I cannot tell you how many times, you know, people would be like, "Oh, can you name 3 players from 10 years ago?" And I'm like, "Who cares if I can? Why can't I just like? Why do you believe that because I like something that's maybe not traditionally for females, why can't I also be a fan, and why do I have to justify it and prove to you that I'm a fan enough to enjoy this?"
I'll say, as a computer scientist, people try me all the time. Now I've gotten it down to where people will politely ask me what my favorite language is, and I'm like, good, you know the rules, you're not gonna get banned today. But I've definitely had people come in with these nonsensical, well, do you even know how to code the algorithm? And I'm like, do you? And that's always my first response. And it's just people testing you. And you do not have to prove yourself to anyone. Ever.
Nope. Nope. I think that's a great spot to end. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody. You know, keep doing what you're doing, keep being your badass selves, and the communities will build around you because they support you for who you are.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate
y'all. Everyone. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. I've enjoyed our conversation. As always, I'm going to be sad when we're done with the series, but I know everything good must come to an end at some point. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We don't have an exact date for our next episode, but we will be talking about hate raids, which I know is a huge topic for everyone here on Twitch. So thanks again for joining, and we will see you next time.
Thanks,
guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Have a great day.